baby Samantha comes into the world 2 months early, emergency C-section in the middle of the night. Luckily, Sarah was at the hospital already for kind of a scare with the pregnancy. I was at home with the boys, and I got a call like, you need to get up here right now. It was midnight. And I'm like, of course, in my mind, like, well, I can probably come up in a little bit, right? You know? She's like, no, come up now. So I call my dad. He's 10 miles away, and I leave before he gets there. I'm like, the door's locked. You've got a key. The boys are all asleep. And I ran every red light on Bangerter Highway to get up to the hospital. And I was maybe 2 minutes late to seeing my little baby Sammy born.
Oh, man.
But, you know, I walked in, and they handed her to me. And she was just the tiniest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I think 4 pounds, 2 ounces. I mean, I could fit her in my hand.
Wow.
You know, and that was a miracle moment. And the doctors told me, like, both your wife and Sammy, your wife experienced a lot of blood loss. She's in critical condition. Your baby, here you can hold her for a second, but she's in critical condition. And both of them needed to be rushed to the ICU. And that was kind of like, I think, my breaking point in a sense. It was like I couldn't really be with them. They both needed to go into, my wife needed to go into surgery, and my baby needed to get in an incubator really quick. And I went home a few hours later to check on my boys, and I just kind of just fell over, and like, I was just so overwhelmed. I was like, what? How do I navigate this? What do I do now? You know? And my wife had this bottle of vanilla in the cupboard, like real vanilla made out of whiskey or vodka or whatever. I didn't even know she had it. I was going to make something to eat, and I saw it, and man, that looked really good right about then. I hadn't had a drink in years. It wasn't something I did, and I drank that, and I got a little bit of a buzz, and man, everything was better for a minute. Everything was okay for a minute. And didn't feel bad about it. I felt like, you know what, I deserve to check out a little bit. So I went and bought some more beer, drank it, forgot about it all for a little bit, as much as I could, and got up the next day and just, you know, put on my big boy pants and went back to what we had to do.
Did you actually feel a little more capable after that?
Yeah, I think. It kind of gave me a little, like, okay, I can do this.
It allowed you to recover a little bit.
Yeah, if I can come home and forget a little bit about everything, it makes it a little bit easier to go out and do it again.
Makes total sense.
It did in my mind, you know. And there's that shame that did creep in a little bit, like, yeah, I know this is not, you know, because I've told you I had a past of alcohol and drug, you know, problems in my past. It had been a long time since.
Yeah, they were years behind you.
It wasn't something that was even a thing anymore. Not something I needed. I was getting my good feelings from other places in my life, but what I didn't realize is how much I was yearning for an escape. And when I drank that and I felt that little bit of escape, it was like the golden ticket to how I'm gonna make it through this hard time. So I started drinking a little bit, probably every night, and it was easy to hide now that with my new, like, before this time, Sarah was like eagle eye. If I was high or drunk, she knew it from me being a mile away coming down the road. Anymore,
and she's always had a sense for that, right?
She was very smart, and very in tune with that. She's very sensitive to to that.
It takes you off a lot in your life, hasn't it?
Pissed me off a lot. But you know what? That's probably why I was attracted to her.
It's exactly why you were.
I needed
and
someone
why you
like
need
that
her
in my
and
life.
wanted her around because you knew.
Yeah, she did not let me get away with stuff. And we didn't touch on this much, but in our younger years when I was messing around, no, she did not tolerate it at all. No way. And
part of you is grateful for that, because something I think you've learned as you've gotten to where you are now is you've got to allow yourself to give some of that control or some of that authority to somebody else. And it's not because you can't, I mean, you don't do well on your own, but it's that you just need somebody else to like be there with you. And all of a sudden you've got the ability to not engage in it.
Accountability, man.
It's magic.
And when we get to that part of the story, that is such a huge part of me being able to change my life is accountability. I mean, there's
want it to not like begrudgingly accept it or like, but to want it, to like seek it,
to embrace it, man, and welcome it, because it gives you freedom, it really does. So anyway, we
and I mean, I'm assuming you navigated that well. Whether this was probably just didn't even register like you knew or whatever, but it was like such a small thing that it wasn't a thing.
There was so much else going on in life, and it was honestly, I was like, I deserve it. Yep. I deserve a break. I deserve to do this. And who's going to blame me?
Not me.
Nobody.
Not if you listen to this.
Right. So, and I knew that, and I knew that I could, play that to my advantage. And I wasn't looking to just throw my whole life away. That wasn't the intention. I just wanted some relief. And it became a daily thing. I'd drink a little bit of beer at night. And that kind of helped me get through the next couple of years.
Did you actually kind of feel like you were being all you at that time? You were being really, really you?
Yeah. It was like, I mean, I wanted to be able to have the freedom to do that. And I always wanted to be able to have that freedom. And I was kind of resentful that I couldn't do that and also be the person that my wife and everyone else expected me to be. And that sounds kind of childish now thinking about it.
But it's real.
Totally. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted, So anyway, life goes on. The next couple years were hard.
So quick question before we leave this, and if you don't want to go there, that's fine. But do you think that moment? So you start, indulging in this discretion for weeks, months,
a couple years.
Months,
year and a half,
months, quarters.
Let's say it started, but it progressively got worse.
So do you feel that looking like not? I mean, did it even come to you to even talk to anybody about it? No. You just like, no, I'm just doing this thing. No. It's my thing. I'm hiding it. Was
no way. It was,
Do you think that goes back to having a family like system where when you were exploring using and chemicals and whatnot, that somebody didn't say, hey, why are you doing it? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
What's going on? Where it was just kind of like, okay, well, you still need to do these other things.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's wrong. Yeah, no, that was not a conversation that was ever had. Like, what's going on that you feel like you need to escape? It was more like, that's wrong. Why would you do this? Yeah. That's wrong.
So stop and do these other right things, and then it'll go away. Like it'll
right.
Stop, like.
And in my mind, as a kid, and hearing that, it's like, well, why not? I want to know why not. Let's find out.
And there's some part of you too is like, well, you don't really care about me then, because you're not willing to like understand, like, because at that point, that those things are like that is your life, like that is everything.
Yeah.
And adults, parents look at it like, oh, that's just a thing, like it's a small thing because you're looking from this parent perspective of how big life really is or whatever.
Yeah.
And so parents that are listening, if there's someone, if your person is close to you or even a spouse, take some time to ask them about their perspective. Let go of like if it's right or wrong, good or bad, healthy, unhealthy, and just ask them, tell me about it. What are you experiencing? What's good about it? What's not good about it? Like, what do you like about it? And like not trying to get an answer. Just whatever you say, I want to try to understand. You don't have to agree with it. I'm not asking you to agree. Just make sure that they know that you really are endeavoring to understand.
Right. And I would love to be that way with my kids, and I try to be, and I have so much to learn and improve with that, but I've tried to keep open dialogue in our home as much as possible.
So from the kids' perspective, they might say you still try. From my perspective, you passed the try bridge a long time ago. Like right. You're doing it as imperfect, or as, anybody can like quarterback from Monday and tell you could have done whatever better, but you are walking the line right now in your life with your kids in that arena.
Thank you. One thing I can say about our family, my wife and kids, is it's okay to talk about how you feel. I mean, it's okay to yell and cry and swear and tell somebody you hate them and tell somebody you love them. That's all acceptable at our house.
That's why you're the Mark keeper.
We are a very vocal, very kind of out there, say what you feel in kind of family, which is totally not how I grew up.
Well, and how's the level of connection that you feel in your family?
It's good. There's 4 boys that are mostly teenagers. There's a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of fighting, but there's a lot of keeping it real. I mean, there's a lot of just real, raw emotion every day there. And whether that's always good, whether it's bad, whatever, it is what it is, and that's how we function. But having it happen right there where you can still be a part of it, way better than having them in their 20s somewhere else that now they're trying to feel or navigate, and they have like the problems are big, or the problems are have real long-term consequences, where now it's where you learn. It's where you learn, and you're creating that environment. Like this is a house that is where you learn. Like it's messy and all that stuff, but it has to be, because it's practice. Right. And there's nothing that I am saying to you or anybody that I won't say in front of all my kids. I am very open about my life with them. They know the dark side. They know the light side. They know the struggles. They know my pain. I've decided that it's important for them to see the full spectrum.
Yeah, your pain's going to serve some kind of purpose. Yeah. And you can see teenagers now today, they are feeling so not connected to something.
So disconnected and so such a lack of purpose. And I get that, but I feel like even more so today, where it's just so easy to check out, on a device, or so many different ways. Yeah. So
I think that's relevant, because at that time, not only did it not occur to you, you also knew that bringing that up was not going to be an option either. Yeah. So it perpetuates that, instead of, somewhere along the way, like, hey, it's okay to talk to me. Like, you're drinking, like, okay, no judgment. Like, I just want to know what's going on so we can like find a way to win.
Right. But in my mind, it's like, okay, nobody can know about this.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to think that I'm going back to my dark place, because I went through a dark place and people knew about it. And if they think that I'm going there again, I don't know that they're going to accept me. And also, I don't want anybody to think I'm weak. I want everybody to think that I'm handling this okay. When really, I just want to drink and cry sometimes,
I do know.
Yeah. And, I became a functional alcoholic.
I was going to say also, that's when the schism happens, where somebody starts doing something that they really just want to be able to drink and cry. And the strong thing is actually to just drink and cry and let people know that you're doing it. And when you do the different, which is, if you don't think what you're doing is like cool enough to like let people know, then you think it's not cool. And if you're doing something that's not cool and you're not cool with you, no one else is going to be cool with you either. Right. And so then you spend all this effort, energy, and time into, hey, I'm cool. Like I'm so like me. Like, how dare you say I'm not cool? Like, I'm cool. Like, capital C, like, bruh, dude, like radical. And that effort, energy goes into that, while really you're now taking time more and more to drink and cry. Actually, I don't think you did much crying at that time. It was just mostly drinking, right?
Yeah, I don't think
it wasn't even drinking. It was just taking the edge off and like giving yourself a place to like some space, really.
Yeah. That's what it was. And You know what? The next few years were really hard, and I just kept doing what I had to do. And there was, there was some happy times, but I mostly remember it just being lonely. You know, I don't remember a lot of joy. Obviously, I've got this beautiful new baby, and
Well, and when you say lonely, I think it's more like the ostracized leper colony lonely. Like you were like lonely, and some of it was self-imposed, and some of it was just real because you're in a place that's hard for people to understand.
yeah,
But you were like, the loneliness is profound.
very profound. I just, I remember just feeling like I was all alone all the time, even when I was with my kids or with my coworkers or whatever. I just didn't feel like anybody got me.
And any man's man that's out there, if you're feeling that, we see you, like we get you. Come listen to Mark speak at the Arena Talks next week. Listen to this podcast, share it with somebody, and you can still be a manly man and feel those feelings and find a way through it, because we found a way through it.
Right. And I will say, there were some men in my life there were a few men in my life who made an attempt to connect with me on an emotional level at that time, but I don't know that I really let them. For those who did, I feel like there were a few people who kind of got what I was going through and made an attempt to reach out, and I don't think I really knew how to welcome that.
You totally didn't know how to accept it, or let it in, or like, allow it, or it was okay, or whatever.
Yeah, but and I got a lot of people like, oh, we're so sorry you're going through this, and you've got such an awesome family, and you get a lot of sympathy, and I hated that, and I resented it, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, I am kind of.
But I really don't want to make dinner tonight, so thank you.
Right, thanks for bringing it. Yeah,
see ya.
Right, a lot of different variety of foods for those few months and years. Yeah, well then.
So the resentments build, the like criticism, the disconnection, you're a man apart feeling, and in the same time, your wife is going through a personal hell as well. Yeah, and now your kids are like confused; they don't know what's going on. They can't figure it out.
Oh man, yeah, those kids, man, have had to really grow up in a lot of ways, really quick, and I think that will benefit them in their lives when they let it. I think there's some trauma because of it.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of good and bad.
Is that hard to acknowledge?
Yeah. Well, it's not hard to acknowledge. It's hard to accept. Like I see it. It's obvious to me, but it's difficult to be like, if this or if that and this or that, But I try not to live in.
Yeah. Does the shame dragon come up and try and get you at those moments?
Yeah. Sometimes. I have made some huge progress with that these last few years. It's still there, but I don't
think it's ever gonna go away either. I think it's always meant to be there to some degree.
I don't tolerate it much anymore.
Yeah, no, you don't.
I don't, man. I don't let him around much anymore, but he tries.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you want to like bring us through this, navigate this next? So you go to the darkest of the dark. You do the dastardly deeds that only
We've got our life kind of manageable to where Sarah can be at home with the kids during the day. My dad, bless his heart, has retired from his career and has moved out to Utah to be our nanny. So he picks the boys up and takes them to school every day.
What a blessing.
Awesome. And my mom is stepping in, doing a lot of that too. So he takes care of the boys. Usually he'll be there until the evening or afternoon, and then he needs a break, and I'll come home and help cook dinner and do whatever, and we're kind of in a routine that's working. It's not ideal, but it's working. I'm really into my work at this time. I've got some cool projects where I'm really able to just escape, I guess. I'm kind of dealing with my pain by making my art at work and diving deep into it. And a kind of a high I experienced during that time is in 2014, I submitted this bathroom project to this awards thing in Vegas, and it was chosen as like the first
Really?
prize in the
Wow.
National Tile and Stone Expo. So I got to go to Vegas and got this big award for it, and it was like the pinnacle of my career. You know, like this was I can't even imagine anything cooler. And
Well, real quick, so one of the really healthy things you did do is you changed that you put that pain right into your creativity and your craft and your art. And you said you developed some of the most, intensely awesome projects you've produced during that time.
Yeah, I did, and this was one of them. And it was a really
Just out of your head,
just
like
kinda,
amazing Michelangelo creativity.
I guess. I didn't make much money on it, but that wasn't the point. I didn't even care. It wasn't even about that. I wanted to really make something cool, and it made me feel good, man. It made me
You're still beaming today as you share that.
It consumed, it gave me like this whatever I needed at that time in my life to feel okay, and that was it.
Purpose.
Yeah, and then to have it like recognized on a national level was such a huge, like, it was a big deal to me. I was super excited. I was proud of myself, but I was still like in that dark place. Like there was this award ceremony in Vegas, and I went and got this award, and like some of my tile buddies and stuff wanted to go hang out, and I just wanted to go back to the hotel and get wasted. I just wanted to go be alone.
Oh, that
got drunk. Yeah.
Oh, so that's what you actually did.
That's what I did. They're like, let's go celebrate, let's go out to dinner, whatever. And I made something up, like I had something to do. And I went back and sat in my hotel and drank until I passed out. That's where I was at. So yeah, like good things are happening, and there's, I'm getting some recognition, but inside I'm just so empty.
Not letting any of it
I'm
in.
just so alone and empty, man. That's where I was at. Well, I got home from Vegas, and about a month later,
No Cloud 9 experience whatsoever.
Nah, just
that's rough, man.
Come home to, I was lucky to get away for a few days with everything that's going on at home, and come home to that. And yeah, it just kind of thinking back on that and reflecting, it's like, wow, this was a highlight of my life, and I just wanted to. It didn't change the fact that I felt empty.
Didn't generate any energy for you.
Nah.
In fact, it actually probably made you feel more alone.
Yeah, probably did. So this is kind of where the next big phase of life starts. I was back at work, and I'm standing up on this scaffolding, and I noticed that I've got like this weird feeling like downtown, I don't know how explicit or graphic I can be on your
between your legs.
Yeah. One of my boys was very large and painful all of a sudden, and
So you started having a Lance Armstrong experience.
That's a good way to put it. Turns out I have testicular cancer, and that I think that it's weird to me now that I didn't know that, because it wasn't like it just happened overnight. I mean, it was a very large tumor that had obviously been growing for a while, and it kind of shows me like how little self-care, how little attention I was paying to myself, like for something like that to go unnoticed. And I just happened to notice it one day because the way I was standing on this scaffolding, mind-boggling to me now.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't small to be able to not notice that. I don't know. It's weird.
And those are parts of your bodies where if anything's off, you notice that quickly.
You know it. Yeah. So it turns out I have testicular cancer, and at first I was like, whatever.
Did that surprise you too? How
little I cared.
Whatever you were about it.
Really, like I really was just like, okay, so what do we do about it? You need to have surgery, and then we'll probably do some chemo. I'm like, okay, whatever. Really, it was just like, let's just get it done so I can not have to worry about it. So we had surgery. I went in for surgery, kind of funny, on June 25th of 2014, 2 years to the day after my wife's brain surgery. Wow. June 25th, 2012. So I don't know if that means anything, but that's how it happened.
Curious, for sure.
Curious. So the doctor talks to me about surgery. You know, we're going to have to put you under whatever. They give me a shot of fentanyl or whatever they give you. I think it was fentanyl. And I remember that needle going in my arm and then feeling that rush for 5 seconds before I knocked out. And I was like, it took me right back to being a heroin user 8 years ago. Wow. It took me right back there. For 5 seconds before I fell asleep, I just got this rush, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel any pain right now. I don't feel any worry. And then I woke up, you know, less one testicle and wearing an ice diaper, and didn't really remember that sensation. It was a real big trigger. But when I woke up, I didn't really remember.
Okay, so you didn't wake up thinking about it or you're brooding on it or something?
It kind of went away. I remember telling them I wanted a Jimmy John's number 9 with peppers, and then I was out. And I woke up and that was that. I mean, it was quick and to the point. You know, I tell people I'm a cancer survivor, but like it was like for a week, you know. I feel bad. I didn't really have to go through much. It was a really early stage cancer, but they did want to do chemo just to make sure. So I did. They put me on this 30-day chemo, and the doctor said, after my surgery, he's like, he asked me if I drink, and I'm like, first I was like, no, why? No. He's like, well, you can't drink with this chemo. It's a deadly combination. You can't mix alcohol and carboplatin or whatever it was, just so you know. And I'm like, oh, well, that won't be a problem because, you know, I don't drink, whatever. So thinking that I should probably take his advice, I'm like, I got to stop drinking. And I was drinking a bottle of hard liquor a night at that point.
Spouse knew?
No.
Still hid?
Didn't know. She was so in her own world with her own struggles, and I did my advantage of that. I did my duties at night and got the kids to bed, and just
then you had Mark time.
Took advantage of it. Yeah, mm-hmm. I took advantage of that. And he also gave me some pain pills for the surgery, and I knew I didn't really need them. It didn't really hurt.
You're a tough dude.
Yeah, but hey, he's giving them to me, right?
And I can't have the alcohol. So.
Can't have the alcohol. Those pain pills felt really good. They did. They really felt good, and they really took me out of that. They gave me some temporary relief, you know. And this is where it gets dark, man.
Have you been like, what is the pain you really wanted relief from?
The emotional pain.
But what? Like what?
Just feeling like...
Was it the loneliness or the sadness?
Loneliness, yeah. I think loneliness.
Something had been taken from you that you...
Yeah, I feel like maybe I got gypped.
Justice, yeah.
I got gypped on my dream for life. Like what I wanted out of life got robbed from me, maybe. You know, and that's same. Anybody in my life, my kids and my wife had the right to feel that same way. So for me to feel that and think that I deserved, you know, a break from it is what it is.
And shameful, yeah. And it is what it is. It's real.
What it is. It's what I did, man. And, you know, there was shame wrapped around that, and I knew taking those pain pills that wasn't a good idea. I had been an opiate addict before. I knew that, you know, and it started with pain pills before in my life too. When I was younger, I knew that wasn't a great choice, but I didn't care. I was ready to check out, and it was a justifiable way to do it.
Totally.
You know, and I remember my brother-in-law. I was talking to him one day, and I don't even know how it came up, and he's like, you know, man, nobody would blame you if you went back to drugs. And I was like, why would, you know, we weren't even talking about drugs, but that stuck in my mind. I was like, yeah, nobody would blame me if I did this. Nobody could blame me, right? How could they? How could anybody blame me? And I think I got stuck on that notion that I could check out and it would be okay somehow. Anyway, of course, the pain pills ran out eventually.
It's crazy the voices we choose to listen to when we're in the suck.
Yeah, I bought into that. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I convinced myself that was okay.
So can I?
Yeah, please.
So actually, keep on going. But there's something I really want to point out here. So, okay, they ran out. Yep. And then what happened?
I called the doctor and said I needed more. I said it was really hurting. It wasn't. I just needed more. He gave me some Dilaudid, which is morphine pills, and
money.
Yeah. I got some syringes and decided I'd shoot those up because that's
heavy.
I know that's going to work better, and I know that you can shoot them up. I mean, I've watched enough movies to know that that'll work. And so that really took me to a dark place.
Yeah, you crossed the divide on that point.
Yeah, huh? I crossed the line. And anyway, those ran out, and I knew that I knew what was next. I either have to quit cold turkey or I have to do heroin. I knew that was my option because I didn't know. That's where I was at. I knew that was such a bad idea. I really did.
On all levels.
On all levels.
Yep.
And it wasn't like just a whim, like I thought this out.
Yeah, you were sober at that point. You knew it was not.
And I knew like the couple weeks that I was taking the pain pills, like I knew that I was going to have to get to that crossroads and do something. And I was weighing it out in my head, I guess. Is this? I don't know. I don't remember what.
No, you're killing the good self. Because the good self has to die for the bad self to you're starving the white dog. You're totally feeding the black dog.
I started to set up my life to where it's crazy. I started to set things up like, okay, I need to make some alibis for this and that. And so nobody thinks I'm here. And I kind of subconsciously was setting my life up to where I could check out, and nobody's going to wonder for a minute. Nowadays,
the pre-contemplative stage.
Right. And so I find this dude on the street corner with a sign that says, asking for money, and I know this guy will know where to get some heroin.
So if you have a lineup of people, you know which one plays soccer and you know which one deals heroin, right?
Right.
Okay.
So this guy stands on the exit that I get off every day for work, and I start seeing him, and I start giving him $1, giving him a donut, a couple days.
Developing the relationship,
and and eventually I ask him like, "Hey, can you get me some heroin?" And are you a cop? I'm like, "No, come on, So he does, and I buy him a little bit and buy some for me, and send him on his way. And I go to this church parking lot, and I'm sitting there, and I'm shaking. Like I know, because I'm scared. I know that this is not what I should be doing. This is so wrong, and I know that. With every bit of me knows that this is wrong. That this is not what I need to do with my life right now.
You even subconsciously pulled into a church parking lot asking for some divine intervention or something.
Maybe. In Utah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's not a single person in my life who I feel comfortable reaching out to at that point. There's lots of people that would have sat with me in that.
Hundreds of options.
I know a lot of people. I have a lot of connections through work and family, and so many people that would love to have my back right then, but not a single one that I felt like I could reach out to, and not because of them, not for anything on their part. They all would have been willing. It's because of me, because I had isolated myself and disconnected so far from any of that, and I had made myself an island so that I could check out and not feel bad about it. And I shot up that heroin, and it all the worry went away, and I felt great for a minute, couple minutes maybe. And then I regretted it, and I was scared. I was ashamed. I pictured all the dark things of my past coming back.
Didn't even get, really high. Got a few minutes, but not even half a day.
Yeah,
Not even
just the weirdness of it, made it so it wasn't enjoyable. It was like
sucked.
So much shame and guilt, and it just wasn't fun.
Except for that part that was.
Except for the part that was. And, and then I felt, it lasted for a day or whatever. I did the rest of it and just kind of went home and worked on some projects. And then I was like, nah, I can't do this. I can't do this. I felt too much. I felt too bad about it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. And my mom had taken my 3 oldest boys on a camping trip. And so it was just me and my wife and my youngest boy and my little girl at home. And I decided I'm going to go detox in the basement, and I'll tell them I was in chemo still. I was still doing chemo. So it was like
perfect cover.
Everybody at work knew I was
life
sick.
Could go back to work. Like everything could go back to how it was.
Everything's good. Everybody's expecting me to be sick, so I just went and detoxed in the basement for a few days, and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna start over. We're done with this. Done drinking. I'm done. I'm gonna I'll be all right. But nah, man.
You didn't have a why at that point, huh?
Nah, I didn't have any reason not to.
Because then you face the gray cardboard of your life, and you're like,
yeah. This is boring. This sucks. I'm so unfulfilled and unhappy right now. So I tried using some pills again to try and wean myself off, and it just wasn't doing it, and just kept going, man. I slowly got back into that heroin lifestyle, and I hadn't broken the law for 8 years. I was like a pretty good law-abiding citizen. I kind of kept my nose clean, and it was weird. It was dark. It was kind of exciting. It was
definitely
sketchy.
That has to go like
sketchy.
Noticed
Living on the edge, and it was like, man, this is kind of exciting. To kind of do this thing and go buy drugs, and it was a thrill.
Kind of Pulp Fiction exciting.
Yeah.
But in the end, everyone dies.
Right. Exactly. But, I got addicted real quick. I go all in when I do everything.
That's true.
I'm an all in kind of guy. So, man, I don't even know where to start with the rest of the story, man. It's the next 4 years I could talk for days on.
One thing that I think is really insightful that you have brought up before is the drugs always run out.
Yeah. And
I think that's really, so one of the themes I hope comes through to anybody listening is that there's this, even though your life has what it needs, there's this feeling or this attitude or of lack. You just felt like lack and less and not enough, and only can see what you don't have and what isn't, and not like what you do. Your life now, even though maybe it doesn't have kind of same resource set, you feel so much more abundant now than you did before. And I just, when you said that drugs always run out, but now when you look at, guess what, crying never runs out. If you need a good cry, that, you can always go to that place. You want to go for a run, you want to go meditate, you want to call a friend, those things don't ever run out.
Yeah.
And for you to make that switch and just what, 5 years, 6 years, like to go from like this place of really, I mean, you blew up your life in a fantastically glorious way.
Yeah.
And thank God, thank the universe, thank the special people in your life that they want to reinvent and create a new life with you.
Yeah.
And as you've done that, you've found ways to feel really good that don't ever run. In fact, the more you practice them, the better you get at them, the richer they are, the deeper they are, the more abundant they are.
Yeah. My cup overflows, man.
So how did you go from, so actually, what are you doing now that replaces that moment? So the black dog and the white dog never go away. That's just part of the deal. You got to feed the white dog, and if you feed the white dog, then you're feeding the abundance, the good part of you, the noble, the courageous. So what do you do now that doesn't run out?
So I think of this. I think of that moment in the church parking lot quite often, and I think of the difference between my life then and my life today. If I was sitting in that church parking lot, you know, in theory or whatever, metaphorically, today in a hard place, I have so many people that I am connected with on a real level that I could call. I have so many people that I could talk to.
But that you actually can see yourself in your mind actually dialing.
Yeah, that I actually am connected with and want to talk to and want to have their support. Compared to then, I didn't want anybody's support. I probably did want connection, but I didn't want the things that came with it. Accountability. Vulnerability. Nowadays, I welcome that. I have friends who I talk to about how I'm feeling. I have people that I talk to about when I'm scared. I'm way more open with my wife. I have people that I want in my life to help me to make good decisions. I have accountability that I want to follow through with.
Yeah, in the same way that you dismantled accountability at that time in your life so that you wouldn't be, you've actually proactively constructed accountability into your life that you put effort into maintaining and make sure it's there.
I've got, the way my life works now is a lot of people are counting on me, and because I have allowed them to count on me. I want them to count on me, to where if I don't show up, people are going to wonder why, and they're going to ask me, you know, and I like that. If I don't show up at this place or at this time, somebody's going to call and be like, hey, how come you're not doing this, what you said you'd do? I welcome that phone call because I am going to do what I said I'm going to do. I'll be there when I said I'm going to be there. And if I'm not, please call me. Because if I'm not, there's something that is probably going wrong, because I'm going to stick to my word. And I like that. I used to hate that. I didn't want anybody to count on me. I wanted to be a free agent, man. I wanted to be able to show up when I felt like it and not have anybody bother me about it.
That capacity you have to make that turn south, that you at that juncture where you went south and now you've been able to make these huge turns to go north. Do you think that that's helped you? Like, you know, that when you know what it's like to go all the way in, you know, and make your life totally unworkable. Do you feel like now that's giving you the vision of what it's like to make your life really workable?
Yeah. I think, so I picture the scene in Indiana Jones when he's going to get the Grail and he has to step out over the cliff and there's nothing there until he steps out. And then all of a sudden the platform appears. Well, I think I'm that guy, both going down and going up. Like when I was about ready to step off the deep end into the dark, like I was going all in. I was ready to take that step and go for it. And I feel like that's kind of how I've approached my recovery. Like I don't know how to do this. I don't know what's coming, but I'm going for it. I'm trusting that this is going to work. I'm trusting that when I step out there, there's going to be a rock there for me to step on, that I'm not just going to fall into the abyss. When I decided that I was done, I really didn't know. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I didn't know how I was going to come back from this.
So real quick, anyone's listening to this, you don't have to know how, by the way. We think we have to know how, or I can't see how, or, you know, I don't know what to do. You actually don't need any of that. You just need to know that you are going in that direction, and that you're willing to fall off the cliff and go all the way to the depths because you are having, you're expressing that faith. So for you, what that looked like is this successive like freight train snowballing experience where you start going into denial. You're using more heavily, more consistently. You think everything's fine. People around you know that you look like the Walking Dead. You're, not anything like you think you are in your head. Mm. You start becoming that guy around job sites where you're pawning tools, stealing stuff, taking money from jobs and not finishing them. Yeah. And to the point where you're in jail, like your kids are going to get, taken from you. DCFS is involved. You get pulled over because you are intoxicated with your kids in the car. Yeah. And then you're at this point where you're like, okay, my life does not need me anymore. I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. Fast forward 4 years from when I started using again, and that's exactly where I'm at. I'm in jail for driving on heroin and cocaine with my whole family in the car. I go to jail. Car gets impounded. We're losing our house because I haven't made a payment on it in 2 years. The only reason we haven't lost it yet is there was some discrepancy with a border on the, whatever. Nobody trusts me. I've pawned everything I own. I've lost everything. I hate myself. I hate myself. I am so ashamed of myself. I think I'm the most disgusting, biggest low-life dad, loser on the face of the earth. And I've accepted that I've gone too far. I don't believe that there's a way out for me anymore. I've given up that I can fix this. I'm just hanging on to survive at this point. I mean, I'm hoping that something works out, but I just don't think anything's going to work out.
And you kind of want to, because then you have to like go confront the people. You have to own your crap. You have to, say sorry, all that stuff that you have not been practicing at all along the way.
Yeah. I know that if there is a way out, it's going to be so hard.
I mean, you said you didn't know if you were capable of even doing that.
At the time, I didn't know if I could. I didn't know if I could do it, man. I didn't know if I could come back. I felt like I just felt like everything good about me was gone. I didn't.
Which you also knew wasn't true, because there's something in there that you knew that wasn't dead yet.
Right. And I had to have known that. I had to have known that I was still hanging on, or I would have offed myself before.
Yeah, you would have put yourself in incredibly, or going to jail, you would have more a sense of relief than like, no, I don't want to be here. Yeah. But you always had that, no, I don't want to be here. Like, this is not where I want to go.
Yeah, this is not me. And when you're living so disconnected from your true self, like it's a very shameful and sad and dark place to be, but like, that you're not supposed to be there. I don't think I ever just fully accepted like, this is just who I am.
Agreed. Yeah, you never went full.
I think I lost hope and didn't believe that I could solve it. But I don't think I ever accepted that this is who I am. I think I always knew that this is not who I'm supposed to be, and there's got to be another way.
Because when you're in court and the judge says, you got to be out of your house by 5:00, and you're like, okay, this is the day, I'm done. Yeah. And you decide not to throw yourself in front of a train. What emerged? Like, how did that? What transpired that then you're like, I'm done. I'm done.
Oh man, I couldn't stand to live another second in my own skin.
Yeah, the disgust was so profound.
I was so like, I just want to tear my skin off. I cannot stand this anymore. It feels so gross. I don't know how else to describe it. I am so disgusted with me and with this that I cannot live another second like this. I'm either going to kill myself or I'm going to change everything. Those are my only two options. There's not any gray area here. There's not like, I can't just try to manipulate this anymore. Like, I need to be gone or I need to be done. End of story. No other option in my head at that moment. And I actually had to think about that for a while. I didn't know the answer.
A few hours, right?
A few hours. I left the Provo courthouse and I walked home, clear to Lehigh. And it was kind of back and forth, you know. It wasn't like this miraculous moment where like, I'm done. I was trying to weigh it out in my head, like what's going to be the best, you know. It's going to suck for my kids if I kill myself, but it sucks for them already. Like, I'm not doing them any favors by being alive. You know what? I just finally surrendered. I didn't really want to die. I never really wanted to die. I just didn't want to live anymore like that. And I finally decided that I'm going to do whatever it takes to change this. For like one moment, first time in a long time, I experienced some self-love. A little bit of self-love. And I thought, I can do this. I can come out of this. I am worth doing this. Was
it the verbiage that you came up with when you were going back and forth where you said, I just can't live like this anymore?
Yeah.
I want to live. And so
live.
This third option emerged like, oh, well, what if I live differently than I'm living?
Yeah. It kind of, yeah. And it's, I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I remember. Not supposed
to. It's probably just a feeling that started like building.
I remember feeling it. And all of a sudden, like, I just believed it. I was like, yeah, I will change, you know? Duh. I mean, finally it clicked. I had this overwhelming feeling like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to change my life. And I remember calling my wife and telling her, like, I'm done. Yeah. And she's like, whatever. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, I'm done. I'm done fighting this. It's over. And she was just like, yeah, okay. You know, we've all heard that before. I had to move out. The judge required me to move out of my home because I was a danger to my children. So I had to go home and tell my kids that, and my wife, that I'm not allowed to be with you anymore. I'm not allowed to see you anymore. Period. I can't have any contact with you unless I'm with, you know, a DCFS worker. But you guys, I'm done. I'm done using. And, you know, they didn't, it was devastating. It was devastating for my kids and my wife. But for me, I was like, I had this huge sense of relief. It was like the whole world had just been lifted off my shoulders, and I felt like this, like I'm done. I felt so free. I don't know. I didn't know how.
You can still see that coming through your face. You can feel that, so much of what you've done now is connected right to that moment.
Like it was like I just got off this 1,000,000-mile journey, and I finally got to lay down in this bed and go to sleep. And the old me got to go to sleep, and I was like, it was over. Like I felt such a huge sense of relief that it was over.
And for the disgust to leave you alone for a while.
Just get away from me. Like, I am done with you. You know, I want to peel off that skin and burn it. I didn't know what the next step was. No idea. But I knew I was done. And I knew it was going to suck. I knew it was going to be hard, but there's no way it will suck as bad as it has been sucking.
Exactly.
There's no possible way that anything that could ever happen to me again will be as miserable as this has been. No way.
In that moment, did your view of the universe, did it turn from a malevolent universe to a benevolent universe that was actually working for you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. it's like as soon as I surrendered, as soon as I agreed that I was not going to fight this anymore, it's like the universe just opened up the floodgates on me. I went home and I was packing some stuff to go wherever. I was going to go get a hotel for the night and then live in my car after that. There's this book, Black Tar Mormon is the book. I can't think of his name right now. Sorry if you're listening, dude. Hopefully you're listening someday, but it touched me. I read that book. My wife and her friend had taken me to listen to him speak a few months earlier, begrudgingly. I was like, whatever, I'll go. And my wife's friend bought me one of his books, and he wrote in it, like, call me when you're ready to change, or something like that.
Because he saw you. He knew you.
Dan Workman. Dan Workman.
He knew you, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's been there. Mm-hmm. So I have this book, and it's just sitting there, and I'm like, grab it, throw it in my bag. Whatever, maybe it'll help. I open it and he had written his phone number in there, and I'm like, oh, maybe this guy has an idea for me. So I call him and I kind of tell him what's going on, and he's like, oh, brother, that's awesome, like, thanks for calling. I'm like, I don't know what to do, man. I don't even know. Can you help me? I hate asking for help.
That was the most uncomfortable place for you to be.
Oh, to ask for help.
Like you hate it. Like, oidio. Like you hate it.
I hadn't asked anybody for help in so long. He's like, well, do you have insurance? I'm like, no. Do you have any money? No. I don't have shit. Sorry. I don't have crap. I don't have anything. I really don't. I have squandered everything of value in, I have this old beat up Subaru car. Fortunately, I still have this somehow. No, I don't have any of that. Oh, well, call this guy Jared. Gave me his number. I called Jared. He answers. He's doing something in the middle of a road. Somebody's getting pulled over, and he's trying to talk to the cops to get him off the hook. And he's like, yeah, I'm kind of busy right now, but hang on a second. I'm listening in, and he's talking to, something's going on. He gets back on, and I'm like, hey, I just got kicked out of my house. And I'm 1 day sober, or not even a full day. I'm half a day sober. Can you help me? He's like, well, what do you want? I'm like, I don't even know. I just don't want this anymore. He's like, yeah, well, come on over to our sober living house and check it out, and let's meet you. So he's like, do you have time in the next few days to come? I'm like, I can come right now. I don't have anywhere to go. Okay, so I go over and I meet Jared and Zaxter and a couple other dudes and get the tour, and I'm like, this is cool, but like, I don't have any money. I don't have any insurance. And Jared's like, well, do you know how to do anything? I'm like, I know how to do tile. He's like, oh, actually, I need these bathrooms tiled over this other house that we just bought. He's like, I tell you what, I'll trade you your first month's rent if you'll do these tile bathrooms for me. I'm like, okay, I don't have any tools. He's like, I'll get you some tools. Okay, cool.
You never been in a program before? Like this?
Oh, I've been in.
You had been?
5 or 6 inpatient rehabs in the last 15 years, but I've never done a sober living. And I'm fortunately, this worked out. I don't think an inpatient program, I needed to be out in real life, and
some risk there.
Freaking just, I don't need another. Inpatient was easy. It's easy to get by and just, follow the rules and keep your nose clean, and then you get out and your family thinks you're doing great, and you go right back to using. Sober living for me was like, yeah, you have to get up and do something every day and go out and do stuff and go to work and go to groups. And if you don't, nobody cares. Like, I mean, they care, but they're not going to come and make you. You don't get in trouble for it. You get kicked out.
Yeah. You get to go to your Subaru
Guess
and the
what?
hotel.
You don't have a bed anymore. Oh, you don't want to come to group? See ya.
Yep.
Okay. It's not like, oh, well, you have to do the dishes tonight. You know? No, I didn't need any more of that. Like, I needed some.
And you wanted like
dude.
a real.
I wanted some
deal.
like, yeah. I just wanted to change. And Jared, he's like, come meet me over here. Let's look at this other house and the tile. And that's not why he wanted me to go over there. He wanted to talk to me. And that was a private place. And he's like, we're sitting there in the kitchen at the chapel house. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, I'm a junkie. And he laughs. Like, a junkie? Really? Huh. He's like, that doesn't strike me as who you are. You know, something to that effect. Like, that's not what I see. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, you just don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You know, that's because that's what I am. That's all I am. He's like, you're a lot more than that. He's like, I see a loving father and a loving husband and a hardworking craftsman and somebody who cares about his life and his family. And he was right. And I knew that I was all those things. I'd just been trying to forget for so long because it was easier to just forget about who I was supposed to be and be someone I wasn't.
Was it easier though?
No.
I think it's a way you figured something out that you didn't, because you knew how to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't see how that was easier at all.
No, it was not easy. I think it was just what I had become so used to.
Huh.
Yeah, it wasn't easier. I can't think of anything harder than being a full-time drug addict.
Right?
Man.
Oh.
It takes some commitment. And it takes you got to be willing to just shut off your moral compass, you know, completely.
Talk about embracing the suck.
Oh, man.
Way harder.
Yeah. It's to be someone you're not it just feels dirty all the time. It feels so wrong.
Icky.
It feels icky, man. And that's why it's so nice. It's so nice to shake that skin, but
for you to allow him to point out your core values. He didn't know you, but he knew you.
Yeah.
And he knew who you wanted to continue to be.
Right. I kind of describe it as that he and everyone else at I Am Recovery loved me until I could figure out how to love myself again. You know, and then we met Chris and Mary and Zach and you and a bunch of other names that
It was the perfect mix for you, and you, like, I don't remember you ever, like, you might have thought it, but you didn't come out like, okay, I'm done, I'm good, like I came what I got, came for. I just remember, actually, I'm not gonna talk in past tense. From then to now, I don't remember you at a time ever like punking out or going back on that deal you made from that day. That is, I will do whatever comes up. Life, whatever you put in front of me. I don't know if there's a God. I don't know if there's a plan. I don't know what there is, but I know that I can be alive in a different way. Whatever that different shows up, I am going to do it. And that thing has been what I feel has like propelled you, like turned you into the juggernaut. You're just going to break through walls and you put that thing on your head. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And keep on moving forward. And I feel like that it goes down to that moment. Like, I can be alive in a different way, and I'm going to find out what that different is. I'm going to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't care what it looks like. Don't care what it smells like. Don't care where it comes from. And I feel like the more you've allowed your inner compass to love you enough to allow that to come, you've been able to be more aware of when it's coming. Things are coming to you that, yep, that's what I got to do. Yep, that's the next thing. Yep, that's where I got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. And I haven't gone back on that promise. I got something to prove to me, to everybody, to my soul. I'm doing it. and I'm not done. I am doing
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think if you ever go back on that promise, you're dead. Like that's like figuratively, metaphorically, physically, whatever it means. And I don't even know if you can imagine your life not being honoring that commitment.
Nah, I can't. I don't have any reason to even imagine that. It's not the way it is anymore, man. I don't roll like that. I'm just in this because
no, you will not.
I won't.
And life is starting to be recognized that you will not roll like.
Yeah.
Because from that moment when Jared sat you down and you did sober living and all that stuff, and then you moved back with your family and you've been repairing relationships and you've started getting work again, and now you're as busy as you've ever been doing work that you've always wanted to do, connect with your family and having this harmonious experience more than you ever had before. The adversity it doesn't gone anywhere.
No.
I mean, it's maybe even been more in some ways.
Yeah.
But you found the strength through it this time versus the weakness.
Yeah, life doesn't get easier, but our capacity to handle it grows.
Can.
Yeah. Life is hard. It's been challenging, but I'm enjoying it, man. I am enjoying navigating through it. I'm enjoying figuring it out.
Dude, the way when you say that, your eyebrows pop up, your smile comes on, you like light up.
Yeah.
You've got that real curious look in your eyes that's really inquisitive and excited, and you mean that truly.
I do, man. I didn't know that I could feel this good. Really. I never knew that I could feel this good. I've had some good times in my life. I've had a good, colorful, full life, full of lots of great experience, but man, I have never been as like okay with life as I am right now. I'm okay with it. It's
and anyone listening, okay does not mean complacent. It does not mean like laissez-faire or passive. You're very active, you're very engaged, and you're very like committed and invested in your experience.
Yeah. And I'm liking it, man. I have hard days. I have really hard days. I have really awesome days. I cry, and I've cried 20 times in the last week. I've had to pull my truck over countless times just to cry for a while, because as I've been processing this in preparation to talk in the next few days, as I've been thinking things through, I've been feeling a lot of emotion, and it's cool. It's cool to be able to feel this full spectrum of my emotions.
Yeah, and then go on with your day, and then call your kids, and then get the business and get the job, and follow up on that stuff to the capacity you have now, where before that would shut you down. You'd be like, okay, I'm done. I'm not available to anybody else for the rest of the day because I'm feeling my feels or whatever it is.
Right, and it all feeds off each other now. I have some of the truest friends I've ever had in my life. You, many others. I have some real people in my corner.
So let's talk about that. If I were to look at some of the strengths and gifts and talents you're personally most like grateful for, and you've let become really truly powerful in your life, or self-love.
Yeah.
Making friends as an adult.
Connection.
Like changing your circle and believing that you can. Coming from like, I don't want to be around this group of people anymore. I want to be around this group that intimidates me, scares me, or I think they're all these things that I'm not, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you go about making friends as an adult? Because that is no like walk in the park.
Yeah.
So tell me about the self-love first.
It's all about self-love. I mean, it's been really hard to learn how to love myself after hating myself for so long. It didn't just happen. I didn't just that day like a light switch flicked and I was like, I love myself.
Hey, Mark.
Now,
hey,
I
you're
was
a pretty
like,
cool dude.
I'm going to do whatever I can to change, but I don't like myself at all. I don't at that point. Man, that was the hardest part about getting clean for me. The drugs, like once I was done, I was done. And I am so grateful for that. I am so grateful that obsession was lifted from me that day. It has not reared its head since that day. Thank you. Thank you to the universe and God for that. I am so grateful that that's not a battle that I have to face anymore. And I'm not naive to the fact that it might not come back. It may, or it probably will at some point. But right now I'm so grateful that that's gone. But holy crap, it has been extremely hard to learn to like myself and to shut off the negative self-talk. That was the single biggest thing keeping me from changing was it was my head. It was me. I was the only thing keeping me from changing. I was telling myself constantly that I couldn't, that I shouldn't, that I'm not, that I'm not worthy. I'm not okay. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. It's too hard. I can't come back from this. These are all the stupid things I believed. And it's been a daily process battle to not buy into that anymore. And I just don't buy into it anymore. I like myself a lot. I genuinely do.
How'd you get the ball rolling on that?
Forgiving myself. Number one, most important thing I think that for me had to be done for me to move on and start the ball rolling on that is to forgive myself. And it wasn't just this single act of like forgiving myself. It was a process of accepting my part in the damage that I did and allowing myself to feel the, I had a reason to feel sad and lonely and hurt, and I had to let myself be okay with that. But I also had to make right a lot of wrongs that I had done. For me to forgive myself, that also required me to make some changes and to make some amends and to do my part to fix.
Where did you put all of the, as you grieved, where did you put all of the some days, the could have beens, the things that aren't now that you wanted to be, that you were holding on to? Like, where did you put all that stuff that you have to clear out when you forgive?
I don't know where I put it. I kind of just had to let it go, and it still pops up. It's not a once and done thing. There's times when I think, man, what if this and what if that? But I really have gotten pretty good at just letting it all go, man. Just let it go down the river. I mean, I picture this river. I picture me sitting by a river, and I got like this piece of wood, which is whatever it is, whatever thing you want it to be, and I just let it go. Let it float down the river, man. And I actually physically picture that in my head. I imagine it, and I let it go. I let it go down the river, and it's gone.
And then you see yourself getting up and getting back into your life.
Yeah, and I'm free from that. And
is that in the evening of the day, in the middle of the day?
Whenever, man. Morning? All day.
But I mean, when you see yourself on the side of the river, what time of day is it?
I don't know. Probably middle of the day. I feel the sunlight on me. I just, we hear a lot of talk about self-care and how important that is in recovery, and you got to take time for self-care.
And just in a life that's works and it's healthy and alive.
In everything, mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, self-care isn't I need to go do this act for 5 minutes or go hiking or whatever. That's part of it, but self-care is 24/7. When I have a thought that's negative, I need to accept that, let it go, process it, whatever. If I have a feeling towards somebody, good or bad, what I do a lot now is when I feel a good feeling towards somebody, I just tell them. I tell them.
Did you withhold compliments a lot early on?
Yeah, because I think highly of myself, and it's hard to, that or I would give over compliment to compensate for what I was feeling. But yeah, at work, at home, whatever, if I'm feeling a good feeling about you, I try to just say it. And that helps me feel, it helps me connect, it helps me feel good, it helps me express, what I'm feeling.
That, so what you're saying there is you self-care for you is giving a damn enough about Mark to care enough that in the moment when you do things that aren't not square with you, that you find a way to correct it or make it right or own it or whatever.
Self-care is like all the time. Or
I love that.
Or when I'm thinking like of making a choice that isn't right, and to care enough about myself to stop and think like, that's not a good thing for me. Let's make this right choice instead. Like, that's self-care.
I can just point out, like, that's dumb. That's dumb, Mark. Like, seriously. Almost like when you can kind of punk on your desires in that moment. You're like, yeah, whatever. You make them small, and they don't seem so powerful.
Yeah. And sometimes it's petty stuff.
Totally.
Like, I'm going to not scan this item at Walmart at the self-checkout, which, embarrassingly to say, that was a huge thing for me to overcome. Little petty stuff like that that I was so used to doing. Months into recovery, I'm clean, trying to live a clean life, and I'm still instinctually doing these stupid things. And now it's like that feels icky. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't even go through the self-checkout anymore. I go through and let the lady scan all my stuff while I stand there with my hands in my pockets, looking like Mr. Innocent, because I don't want any inkling of me doing anything illegal anymore. It feels so wrong to me.
I love that, because you're putting in place, like, that's a super small way that you're putting some boundaries around who you want to become, so that you're giving the person you're becoming, or you are, like, chance to continue to thrive.
Right. It's if it feels wrong, it throws me off balance.
You can see yourself when they say, be impeccable with your word. I mean, at one point when Jared's talking to you in there and you're in the sober living house for the first month, that felt like an impossible thing, clearly. Yeah. But now, as you practice and taking the right thing at the right time, you haven't tried to eat the whole enchilada at one time, but as you're taking the things that you can do and you're willing to do at the time, now you identify. When I say, "Are you impeccable with your word?" You're like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah,
that's huge.
I am, and when I'm not, I try to make that right, because it doesn't feel right.
Totally.
It's not about like, oh, I hope they don't find out. That's like child's play anymore. It's like, I don't feel square in my soul when I do this, so that's why I'm not going to do it. For a long time, I was driven by consequence.
Totally.
And long into my recovery. And my recovery is, I have consequence and accountability to thank for motivating me. I had a fire under my butt for a year or two there. A lot of things that were kind of forcing my hand to live a certain way, and I'm so thankful for that. I needed that at first. I needed someone to put my moral compass back in check, because I wasn't strong enough to do it on my own yet. But now, like, that accountability comes from within. I just don't feel right when I'm not living right.
So it comes within, but what are some ways that you've given control to others to like give yourself a chance to win? So what are some ways you've given up control, or like the say, or let people see you that you wouldn't before, that's helping you now just feel really good about being you?
With a lot of things I could say with my kids. Probably more than anything in my life, my kids, I feel like I have accountability to them. We have our life set up in such a way right now that they expect me to be there, every night after work, and I am. I don't.
Yeah, you said the workaholic part of you've allowed to die, and you have found this great harmony, because you're as busy as you've ever been.
Right. You
found this great harmony to that you're home at 5:30. Like 4 o'clock, you go into like wrap up mode.
Yeah, and weekends are family time. I used to either work weekends, or I would, lock myself in my office at home, and I don't have an office at home anymore. I have the couch where everybody hangs out, which has been great. That's where I do my work. That's where I sit and do my, business work and stuff like that.
Rad.
Yeah. And like, I used to think I needed this private place
Totally.
to go, but private place for me means up to mischief, historically. So I give myself some, I think I've tried to set it up to where there's just accountability all the time. I've been working with my kids a lot more. My sons have been coming to work with me for the last couple years, a lot, which I used to not allow because I was always up to too much crap. I didn't want them to see what I was up to.
Mm-hmm.
Having them be able to share that with me, and my wife, like to be able to finally like come clean to her about everything I was doing is so liberating. And man, you want to talk about an awesome, forgiving, dedicated woman. I mean, my wife. She is just, she's a strong woman. She sees it. She sees the big picture. She always did. She didn't just see the bad phase we were going through. She saw the big picture, and I think that's why she stuck around. Which, awesome.
I think grateful. If you've got the gift to be petty and to be a punk and to be a letdown, you've also got the capacity to be this incredibly powerful person in people's lives, and to choose to be that person. I just know one of my gifts is to see people. And when I saw your wife last month, something's different about her. Like something has shifted. Yeah. And when we lead out in our recovery and choose to be alive and choose to find a way to really practice loving ourselves for who we are, you love other people for who they are. And when you give them space to be all of them all the way, no matter what, people that are in your life and that you want in your life, they take it. And she's taking it. And I just see this expansion in her. Yeah,
I do too. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah. Oh, it's very obvious.
And I didn't notice it as much as probably it was happening until recently, and it just kind of the last few weeks jumped out at me.
Wait,
so
whoa,
it's interesting that you mentioned that you noticed it too. Mm-hmm. And my kids too. I mean, there's been a lot of healing that has happened in our family, and a lot more to come. There's a long way to go, but there's.
Give me a moment that's happened the last few weeks with your kids. One of those ones like, "Hey, Dad, see ya," or "Hey, Dad, I really love you," or "Hey, good night, Dad." Give me one of those moments you've had recently where you're like, "Oh, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm doing this for."
This morning, me and Ollie had a 3-hour-long Monopoly match, and I totally whipped his butt, and we had the best time ever. Rad. He was just, it was cool to see, because it takes some effort for me to get into their world and be like, let's do what you want to do. That's hard for I'm an agenda-driven guy. I'm like, I got my agenda for the day, and this is what I'm doing. But man, when I throw that agenda away and just do what they want to do, the connection is awesome. So yeah, we had Monopoly crazy today, and I destroyed him. Even though I was down to $1. He thought he was going to win, and
all Dad needs is a chip and a chair.
Yep. He landed on the railroad, and I freaking bankrupted him. And my oldest,
and to be fun and because I know Ollie's competitive, so to be fun and competitive with your kids, that's a dream.
And my oldest son, I won't talk too much about personally what he's going through, but just for him to the last few weeks, various times, come to me and be like, "Dad, I need some support and some help." Man, I never, ever felt like that connection to go to my parents and be like, I need some support right now emotionally. I didn't know how to do that. I still don't know how to do that with my parents like I wish I did. But for him to come to me and ask for that, and just want to sit with me and wanted me to sit with him in whatever he was going through, was such an honor for me as a dad to be like, man, I don't really have the answer for you, but I'm here I'm here to sit with you in this. And that was enough for the moment. That was awesome. Really was.
And for him to perceive, because if he didn't perceive you've been developing skills or abilities, he would have not come.
Right.
And it's one thing to, know that your parents love you. It's another thing to ask them to share space with you when you're in the hurt.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is you're going through. It doesn't always have to be hurt. It can be successes too.
Yeah.
Like you'd want him to come and tell you what he's doing that's awesome as well.
Yeah. And just, we joke around a lot, me and the boys. Like, it used to be that they were so scared of, like, walking on eggshells around Dad because there was a loose cannon, or a short fuse, whatever. And just to get home and instantly getting razzed by the boys and making fun of each other, it's just kind of how they do it. And it's just,
that look at that feeling of anger doesn't even register on you anymore, does it?
No, I was gonna say there's times, but it's
not the same. It doesn't come over and take you over. It's like, oh, that stung a little bit, but okay, we'll go.
Yeah, teenagers they're fun. It's so much easier when they're little babies. Kids are so much easier when they're little. It is way harder when they're teenagers, but man, it's so fun.
That's rad.
It's so rewarding. We have a good time. We've done some super fun trips this last year, camping trips, just boys trips. We've did an RV trip with Sarah and Sammy and my two younger boys. And it's fun, man. Life is good. It's been great.
So I think that's a great place to button up. Is there any final thoughts, comments, shares, insights wisdom you want to button this up with?
If I could say anything to anyone, I would assume that this audience is going to be people who are struggling with addiction. Is just
or people they care about.
People to family members, and this goes for everybody. Like, it is possible. It is possible to do a complete 180 on your life. You just have to be willing. It doesn't matter how far down you are. I can't imagine being any further down than I was, unless I was 6 feet under. I couldn't have gone any deeper that I can imagine, and I am a happy, healthy, living a full life. I'm a grateful, happy person right now. I am happy to be alive, and I love my life. If I can do it, anybody out there can do it. You just have to do it, though. It's not just going to happen. You got to make it happen. You got to cut yourself some slack and give yourself some love and be your own biggest fan. Yeah. Don't be afraid to pat yourself on the back 1,000 times a day. I do. I'm the president of my own fan club, man. Nobody's ever going to think you're as cool as you do, and that's totally fine. You have to love yourself and support yourself, and as you do, it's easy to love you.
The light that's coming out of you as you talk about that, you're just beaming. You are just beaming, and so proud and satisfied and excited, and anxious with anticipation of what's coming.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
Yeah,
stoked for the future.
I love that. Now that's abundance right there.
Ready for it, man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and as we bring this home, I think, if the folks at I'm Recovery can support you in any way, shape, or form, they will. And I think, kind of what you're talking about, Mark, is evidence of that. So no one does this without a Jared Casey in your life. It just doesn't happen. You got to have, and if you can find one Jared Casey, who is the director of I'm Recovery, who sponsors this podcast, if you can find one Jared Casey, you can find another. And if you can find two, you can find three. And if you can find three, you can get six. And if you get six, you can get 12. And if you get a dozen, you can get 2 dozen. If you are willing to allow yourself to be a part of a team, first of all, that's the only way it's going to happen. You're not going to do it without a team or without people. And if you allow yourself to be seen and to see, then your gifts and talents come to bear, and your willingness to give and create value starts happening. And as you do that and you see yourself as a valuable person, giving value, then you can start looking yourself in the mirror and shed the disgust to a point where I kind of like you. I kind of like you and who you're becoming. Let's try this again tomorrow. Let's do a little more like. And as you ease into that, then the like becomes easier, and then you you dare, you might love. I might love you, actually. I might love what we're doing. And the suffering, maybe it has a purpose. And maybe there's a story here. Maybe there is a reason and a why. And I think that allows you then to find the space, to get the grace, to give the love. And if Mark can be your activation energy, or if Shay can be your activation energy, or if Jared or your parents or your brother or whoever, find somebody else to be your activation energy to get that active. And once it's active, you can start attracting those other people around you. Everyone, thank you so much for spending time with us and being with us and doing with us, because we all win together. If I Am Recovery can help, find them at 801-407-9998 or on the web at imrtc.com. And this is the Winning Together podcast. Find Mark at our next Arena Talks. He's going to share some of this insight, some of the wisdom, some of the gems, some of the treasure that he's picked up as he's got on the adventure, answered the call, found a way to slay the dragons and become that person out of the destruction and remold and remake himself. Quite an artist. Thank you, Mark, for being here.
Thanks, brother.
Mark, keep it real, Christensen. This is Shay. I will bring the story. Aslet. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.